Hello watchers of good anime, my name is Nick Pell and I am doing kind of a video that I was not really planning to do, but I just thought because I was bored on a Sunday afternoon that I would do it because we are about a week and a half-ish into the fall anime season. I have watched a bunch of shows at this point, so I thought I'd give my first impressions of everything that I've been watching thus far. I can't really go into spoilers because I am only, again, 2 episodes in to most of these, if not only one episode. If I had not talked about something that you are watching, you're excited to watch, leave in the comments so I know to check it out. I've tried to watch pretty much everything that I can. So yeah, let's just get down to it. I'll be also going off of my Kitsu app, which is on my phone. If you don't, this isn't sponsored or anything, but if you don't use Kitsu, I think it's a big mistake because it's a really easy way to organize what you're watching each anime season or just in general, and as well as keeping track of what stuff you want to watch in the future, what stuff you've actually completed. I've completed, according to this, 151 shows, so that's neat to just know that offhand. So yeah, if you don't have it, check it out, it's really useful. So yeah, let's talk about the first show on my list, Africa's Salaryman. This is a show which is only on Funimation as far as I'm aware thus far. It's probably the only one that is in danger of me dropping, to be frankly honest, just because it's the only show that's on Funimation specifically this season, not just like split between Funimation, Hulu, and Crunchyroll or something like that. Yeah, so, and the first episode didn't wow me. We watched the second episode today sometime. From what I remember from the first episode, it's very similar to kind of what Magical Senpai was last season in regards to a kind of telling a bunch of short stories throughout the course of a single 20-some episode, like full episode. And so they all kind of connect over the course of that set episode, which allows it to work as a whole unit. But the humor was kind of hit and miss for me personally, and the animation takes a lot of getting used to because it's very different than what I've usually seen. But yeah, like I said, it's the only one that I'm possibly in danger of dropping, so we'll see what happens. Next one is After School Dice Club. This is on Funimation and Hulu this season. I'm liking it so far. I think that it's very unique that it's a show which is focused around a high school club which deals with different, basically board games or dice top games. The first episode they played kind of this like territorial game where you have to try to steal an opponent's cards, and then the one this last week dealt with kind of like a old maid go fish type of situation where you're trying to guess what card the person's laid down, if they're lying, if they're telling the truth. And generally, the characters are fun to watch. They're not very developed thus far because it's 2 episodes in. But I'm liking what I'm seeing thus far. The animation looks good, and I'm curious enough to keep watching it. And it's one of my favorites this season thus far. Next one is the one of 2 sports animes which is on this list, and that is Ahiru no Sora. This is a basketball anime. Main starting premise, at least, focuses on a shorter kid. He's like 5 foot something, I think, and he goes to the school. He's very eager to join the basketball team. Turns out that all the team members are delinquents who don't really care about the sport. They're just basically taking over the basketball court. And he is able to, from what I can tell, inspire them to actually form a team, practice, and become an actual competitive force in their school's basketball league and compete in games and stuff like that. The second episode kind of started to build that up, and basically gave us the impression that that's where the show is going, as well as the OP kind of does that as well. But yeah, I generally don't really watch sports animes, but since I started watching a lot of anime, they haven't really been on that much. So I'm curious to see what this does. Next one is Ascendance of a Bookworm. This is probably one of my favorites as well this season. It's an isekai anime, one of many this season, which focuses on this girl who gets hit by a truck, and she ends up in the body of this young girl in this fantasy world, which is basically kind of like medieval-y times of sorts, where there's no printing press, and she's a big bookworm, as the title suggests, and she has to basically figure out a way to create books because It's kind of like her safety zone and whatnot. So she's very clever in that respect. I think the reason that I like it a lot is because it deals a lot with inventions and basically her trying to bring in modern things from like our world to this medievally world, like creating shampoo and putting her hair up in different ways or different styles, and now basically coming up with the idea of mass producing paper and books and things of that sort. And it's very similar in that aspect to Dr. Stone, which was my favorite show of last season. In that it still has that creativity element to it. It's very different show-wise and main plot and everything, but just that core concept I think is what's drawn me to that show because of how much I enjoyed seeing it play out in Dr. Stone. So yeah, it's a very fun show to watch. Again, not very far thus far, but we saw kind of like a flash forward of sorts in the first episode, showing that she eventually gains some sort of prominence. So yeah, we'll see if the show just ends at that point or if it gets there midway through and continues onward. I don't know. I haven't read the manga or light novel or whatever it's based on, so I like it. Assassin's Pride just debuted this week. It's on Crunchyroll and High Dive, and I should actually say Ascendance of the Bookworm is on, and Ahiru and Sora, they're both on Crunchyroll as well. Assassin's Pride's first episode basically introduces us to the core cast. It deals with an assassin who is basically sent to figure out if this young girl has the ability to basically access her magic powers. I don't remember what the terms that they use are, but that's the nook and cranny of it. He's basically able to figure out a way by the end of the episode to help her unlock these abilities that have been dormant for a very long time. And it seems like it's setting up for something of a love story of sorts. I don't know where it's going to go. I haven't known anything really about it at all. But that looks like where it's going to go. He's going to be kind of her bodyguard. They're going to form a relationship and things are going to happen. Hopefully he gets to train her into kind of like a badass assassin warrior of sorts with like magic powers. But we'll see. I'm intrigued enough. It's probably not going to be my top 10, but I like it for what it is so far. Ezra Lane is on Funimation and Hulu. This is a show which is based on a video game which I have not played and know nothing about. General premise of this one is that it focuses on, it's kind of the same idea as Girly Air Force from, I think, the winter season, in that a lot of the main characters in these girls are basically weapons who have the powers of like ships and military powers. And they're able to harness these things. They fought off some alien force in a previous war, and now the human forces are starting to fight against each other because they both need power, because of course they do. It's fine thus far. It hasn't really done a ton. It has developed a little bit of the main characters thus far, it would seem, that can kind of generally predict where it's probably going to go. But again, it's fine. A lot of these shows are just going to be fine. They're enjoyable enough to watch. They're not really that amazing, but I'm enjoying them for what they are. This show, again, falls into that category. Babylon is one which I have just recently watched because I didn't really know anything about it thus far, or until recently. It's an Amazon exclusive show, so of course that means they put up 3 episodes right away on Amazon, and that we have to wait 3 weeks until Japan catches up to it, so that's stupid. But generally for the plot, it's very intriguing. It deals with, without going into spoilers in case you haven't seen it, it deals with this idea of suicide and people for many, many years fearing, well, for the majority of the human existence, fearing the idea of death. And the main setup, it would seem, after these first 3 episodes is that there's an opposing force which is trying to reverse that idea, where it's like death should be a welcome option, or basically suicide is a welcome option if you don't really have any purpose to your life. And so I'm very intrigued to see where this goes. I could see it having a ton of controversy based on the subject matter, but I like it thus far. It's very intriguing. It has a episode 1 plot twist ending, which I did not predict, and that I really enjoyed. Yeah, it's one of my more anticipated ones now of the season, and I'm really excited to see what this one does. This is one which could easily end up on my top 10. I'll touch on this briefly. Boruto is one that I've been watching for all 128 episodes thus far. It started a 20th anniversary kind of arc, with it being the 20th anniversary of Naruto. It's basically Boruto going back in time to help protect his father. It would seem during the time that Naruto is training with Jiraiya. Essentially, we don't really know exactly when it's placed yet, but somewhere in that realm, towards the end of the original show. And so a lot of people seem to not be happy about this because it's like, oh, Boruto's crap and they're doing this for nostalgia. No, it's for the 20th anniversary. That's why they're doing it. And so I'm excited. I've enjoyed Boruto for what it is. It's not amazing. It has some cool moments, but it's fine. And I'm excited to see what they do with this arc. I'm very curious to see how they have Boruto interacting with the younger versions of adults that he's known for all of his life, and see how he reacts to Sasuke being Sasuke during this time as well. Case file N degree 221 Kabukicho, I think. This is basically a Sherlock Holmes show, put into like modern Japan-esque situation. We have a John Watson who ends up teaming up with a Sherlock Holmes character, and it's them trying to solve a bunch of mysteries. And that's generally what the show seems to be aiming for. I'm sure it's going to have some sort of overarching arc. I saw it on, I think, Thursday. I don't really remember a whole lot that happened in it, but I watch a lot of shows, so it's not that surprising. It seems fine. Again, this isn't one that has terribly impressed me thus far, but it has a 2-core run to go through, so it's got time to make itself worthy of notoriety and stuff. So it's on there. It is on Hulu and Funimation. Another one on Hulu and Funimation is Cautious Hero. The hero is overpowered but overly cautious. This is another one which is fine, and another isekai anime for this season. General idea of this one is that we have this general idea with amongst the gods that they have this mass multiverse of worlds that are being conquered by various demon lords of sorts, and they summon heroes to help conquer those worlds, and they rate the world on various difficulty levels and things like that. The young goddess who has to conquer an S-rank world summons this hero who she thinks is going to be super overpowered and take it on really easily, and he ends up being the most cautious guy ever. And that's more or less the premise of the show, is that he basically has to be over-prepared for everything and kind of overdo everything. And it's a gag which I think has the potential to get really old really fast. But I enjoyed the second episode more than the first episode, so we'll see what happens. The relationship thus far between their two main characters is fine. It kind of has a Konosuba-esque vibe with Kazuma and Aqua, but it's not as fun to watch on screen, I would say, because the two characters don't really banter off each other. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Chidori RSC is a show which just debuted today on High Dive. It deals with a high school club, which, I think high school, which has this rifle shooting club. Essentially, they use laser rifles, and basically it's an accuracy shooting type of thing. And it seems to just be a show with cute girls doing cute things. I don't know how it's going to stack up to After School Dice Club and then another show which I'm going to be talking about later on, which both deal with like school club settings. It seemed to pack a lot of stuff into its first episode, so I don't know if it was just trying to like world build or like set up all of our characters really quickly. But again, it's cute girls doing cute things, so whatever. We'll see what happens. Didn't I say to make my abilities average in the next life is a Crunchyroll show, which I am watching, and it's another isekai, I believe, which deals with a girl who ends up in this fantasy world again, and she asks God before she gets summoned to this new world if she could just have an average life, average powers, everything of that sort. And so, as a loophole to this, God decides to make her on par with basically the strongest creature on that world and the weakest one, so kind of like an average of the two. So she's really strong in some areas, really weak in some others. And so she is obviously overpowered in like fighting techniques and stuff, but she's very clumsy and kind of ditzy and things like that. So it's another isekai. I don't know. It doesn't really stand out immensely yet. I am enjoying it thus far with the one episode that's aired. It airs on Monday, so I'll see what episode 2 does tomorrow, but it's fine. Faragon is airing part 2 of its first season on Funimation and Hulu right now. Faragon was a show which, with the first part of season 1, I enjoyed for what it was. It didn't really do a lot for me by the end of it. I think it had a lot of wasted potential, but it was fine. Again, I enjoyed it. Season 2 is so far just kind of following that example. I like that we're able to kind of just jump further in. It doesn't have to set up all these characters once more. And I'm enjoying it thus far, in the 2 episodes which I've aired so far. So we'll see if it sticks the landing. I highly doubt it'll be in my top 10 of the year, based on what I already have set for a top 10 of the year, pending this season. But yeah, it's enjoyable enough. High School Prodigies Have It Easy, Even in Another World, is a Crunchyroll show, which, as you can kind of tell by the title, deals with, I think, 7 Japanese high schoolers who are basically prodigies in their respective fields. There's one who is somehow the president of Japan. There is another person who's a tech wizard, a business wizard, a magic wizard, things of that sort. They're all specialized in various areas and different skills. And so far, at least, it would seem that each episode is going to more or less focus on each one tackling a different area of this new world society, and basically conquering it in their respective way. So right now we're focusing on the business guy, kind of taking over this trade business, and basically putting another one out of business, and dealing with that whole side of things. It's fun enough. Again, it's an isekai show. A lot of these haven't really stood out to me thus far this season, because we've had a plethora, I'll say, of isekai this whole year. And so my isekai kind of palette is more or less getting kind of run down. So these kind of have to stand out quite a bit to impress me right now, and they're not really doing it. They're fine, like I said, nothing wrong with them per se, but they're like 1 or 2 episodes in, so I can't really say a lot. Kandagawa Jet Girls is a high dive show, which is fan service as hell. There's excessive butt shots, there's boob shots, there's crotch shots, there's a bunch of stuff, which is very, very fan servicey. In general, for the story, it deals with this young girl whose mother was a jet skier in this competition thing that has been around apparently, where you ride in a jet ski race and you have someone on your back who's trying to shoot at the target to make you basically fall off or crash or something. And that's what she ends up getting involved in and what she's doing by the end of the first episode with her new teammate. Again, it's very fan service heavy, so I'm not really expecting it done from this. But we'll see what happens. Once again, I don't really like to dump shows after 1 episode or something if they don't do a whole lot for me, because they can get really good, because a lot of shows have done that. Kemono Michi Rise Up is another isekai show, which takes kind of a different approach to the whole isekai idea, in that we have this pro wrestler who gets summoned to another world to help save it, of course, and he is not someone who likes to fight monsters or really solve things with violence per se. Every time he goes out on a monster hunt, he ends up taming the monsters and making them basically his pets. It's got some humor to it in that aspect. When he goes out to fight a group or like a village of ogres, he ends up befriending them and besting the chief, so they end up following his orders. And it's a different approach to the traditional isekai, where you'd have like the hero going out and slaying a bunch of creatures and taking out a whole horde of orcs and things like that. And so it's unique in that aspect, and I'm enjoying it thus far for what it is. Kokoodo Tomaru, Sounds of Life, is back with its 2nd season on Funimation Hulu, focusing on this high school club which competes in high school Kodo tournaments, in which they play in the Kodo as a group. It's fine. It was one of my favorites of the spring season, and it's continuing to progress our story of this group of kids who are trying to become a very good Kodo playing team. Again, it's fine. I enjoy it for what it is thus far. But again, 2 episodes in, can't really say for sure what it's going to do. But I've heard good things from the manga people, and it's going to get more lovey-dovey apparently, so we'll see how that goes. Probably the most anticipated show of this season is My Hero Academia Season 4, and I'm eagerly excited for that. First episode season didn't do a ton for me. It's basically a soft recap episode where we are reminded of what each of the students in this schools or in this class's powers are, and basically given a very brief rundown of what's happened thus far in the show and what the main events in season 3 were. It was fine. I don't read the manga, so I have no idea what's coming in regards to like main plots and arcs and things. But from what I've seen, it seems like it's going to be really exciting, really good. So I'm looking forward to it. It's one of my favorite shows, and there's a reason for it. No Gun's Life is a Hulu and Funimation show which deals with individuals who, for unknown reasons to me right now, have basically gotten various parts of their bodies replaced with guns, essentially. So our main character is a guy who has a revolver for a head, or a giant revolver for a head, and can fire said revolver. I don't know why it doesn't kill him, but it's whatever. It's kind of like a detective show because the main character is a PI, and so again, one episode in, can't say a lot for it right now, but it's enjoyable enough, and I'm curious where it goes. Oresuki, Are You the Only One Who Loves Me? This is my favorite show of the season thus far, because it takes the traditional rom-com formula and it kind of turns it on its head and does something completely unexpected with it. The first 10 minutes or so of the first episode sets up to be just this really cliche rom-com that we've seen 100 times before. Where you have the main character who's best friends with this childhood friend and then friends with the school president, and you would think that's setting up for them to both be madly in love with him, which is what he kind of seems to be setting up for, because it's revealed that he's kind of plotted this whole thing out based on various rom-coms that he's seen and read about and whatnot. The twist, if you're not aware, is that both of these friends are madly in love with his best friend, who is this really good high school baseball player, and it turns it on its head. There's this stalkery girl who is madly in love with our main character, and you just see this total shift in mask and personality that he has as opposed to like the beginning of the episode, and I just absolutely love it. I think it's hilarious. It's again only 2 episodes in, so it could go really easily, but I am really excited for this. It's for some reason I am a sucker for comedies. It would seem with anime, as well as like Demon Slayer stuff, I guess. But comedies, at least this season, seem to be the thing that's kind of pushing me forward with this and the next show I'm going to talk about. But yeah, Oresuki, Are You the Only One Who Loves Me? I really enjoy this. I highly recommend checking it out. I've kind of compared it to being kind of like the Konosuba of this genre, in that like Konosuba is kind of a parody of traditional isekai, and it's one of my favorite shows in general. And so I'm really excited to see what this show decides to do and where it goes from here. Outburst Dreamy Boys is another anime which I'm really enjoying this season because it seems really similar to the main idea of Love, Shinobu, and Other Delusions, which I've watched in the last couple months or so, and it became one of my favorite shows in general because of how fun the overall concept was, as well as how relatable and genuine the characters seemed. And this seems to be kind of just a gender reverse swap of that, because instead of having a guy come into this group of girls who are very into the Shinobu thing, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, it's instead kind of reversed. We have this girl coming into a group of guys who are very into like this idea of having this like alternate life or like supernatural powers and things of that sort. Thus far, it's really fun to watch. I don't know why it's getting the hate that I've seen on it, but I'm really enjoying it, and I think the first 2 episodes have done a really good job with the whole concept and the idea, and I just really enjoy it in general because of how funny it is and how well it's working with its whole concept and idea. I'm really excited to see where it goes from where it has left off thus far. Radiant has its 2nd season. This show had a 2-cour run, I think, starting in this season last year, so winter of 2018. And it's a show which I've kind of compared to One Piece in that it has the same general feel after you get through a lot of the setup stuff, because towards the end of the season it got really good and really came into its own, I thought. And so I'm really excited to see the 2nd season and what's so far seemed to just kind of jump off that point. And so yeah, again, haven't read the manga, know nothing about it, so I'm excited to see what another season of the show brings, because I honestly didn't even think we were going to get one this fast, if even at all. So I hope that does good. Curious what it does. Special 7, Special Crime Investigation Unit 7. This is a show on Hulu Funimation, which focuses on this rookie cop who finds himself involved in this group of special detectives in the special department of the city, and basically has to go out and solve mysteries. It's kind of your standard detective show, but it's got a central character who isn't the main character, but is kind of like the sensei character, who seems to be more Sherlock-y in regards to like the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock from the BBC show, than our actual anime about Sherlock Holmes is, in regards to him kind of being very, very smart, being able to put things together really easily, and I'm liking it thus far. It's standing out a little bit more amongst like the standard detective-y novel, or not novel, but the standard detective anime that I've seen already. So yeah, I'm curious to see what this one does as well. I like it. Stand My Hero's Piece of Truth is kind of the same idea as Special 7, in that we have, in this case, we have a girl who gets hired to basically be a recruiter for this group, which kind of does a similar thing. They're special detectives, they hunt out, they try to take down special cases and things like that. First episode didn't really impress me terribly much, to be honest. I'm going to keep watching it, I'm curious what it does, but I would say Special 7 thus far stands out more than Stand My Heroes does. Stars Align is the second sports anime this season, which I'm watching, and I would say that this one is probably better so far, with just one episode in, than Ahiru no Sora is, in my opinion, because instead of having just this prodigy kid come into this team, start it up, we're gonna win the main prize or whatever. The main character has to be kind of motivated by money because his parents are or his mother is in a very bad financial situation, and you can really kind of relate to the kid in regards to what he's going through and kind of why he's doing what he's doing once it's more or less revealed. You also find out he has a shit father situation, which I'm very interested to see how that ends up playing out throughout the course of the season. I have my general ideas, but I'm really excited to see how this one plays out. Again, I usually don't watch sports anime, but this one has definitely caught my attention in how unique it seems to be setting itself up. And so, yeah, I like it thus far. It's probably my favorite out of the two that I'm watching. Sora Online Alicization has its second part out now, finally, called War of Underworld. First episode seemed to deal with a very more or less comatose Kirito after the events of the first half of the show. According to the OP, from what I've seen, again, I know nothing about this, I know nothing about most of these shows, but according to the OP, it would seem that we are kind of stepping away from Kirito being in the limelight and focusing more on Alice as our main protagonist, which I think is really neat. Having a show which has Kirito technically as the main character, but have like this character who has only been around for this actual season be pretty much our pseudo-main character for at least the first half of it. I have an assumption that at some point Kirito will snap out of his thing and basically have a hero moment and be our main character for the end of the show. But yeah, I mean, the setup thus far is fine. I enjoyed the first half of Alicization enough. I enjoy SAO in general overall. And so yeah, I'm excited for this. I've heard generally good things about this half of the show, so I'm looking forward to it. We're almost done. 4 more, kind of. Valentine's Love is another high dive show, which has another kind of fan survey premise, but surprisingly not as bad as the Jet Girls one. The main idea is that there are these demons which are coming to Earth, and this group of Valkyrie girls brought to Earth by Odin, because it's got this Norse mythology twist to it. They have to basically level up or gain experience through like intimate acts. Not necessarily sex or sexual things, but intimate things. And so Odin supposedly bestows upon this guy who's really got this like monstrous look, who's actually like a puppy dog, of course, decides that he's the one who's gonna be with all these girls. And so he's of course very shy and timid, and so it adds the comedic value to that. But I do like that just not, like the girls are kind of throwing themselves at him, but like in the first episode, and the second episode, you can tell that they're not necessarily the most comfortable with what they're doing. They're also very timid. They're not experienced, and you can tell that they have kind of this backstory to each of their characters, which I'm curious to see if that ends up getting fleshed out a little bit more throughout the course of the show. And that it doesn't just have a bunch of just character-focused episodes dealing with each one, trying to have different intimate moments with this main character. I'm enjoying it thus far for what it is. 2 episodes in, once again. But it's fine. We'll see what goes. Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun. This is kind of an isekai of sorts in regards to our main character being very much a pushover, does kind of whatever his parents ask him to do, and one day his parents decide to sell him to a demon so that he becomes that demon's grandchild somehow, and there's sirens. As a result, he ends up going to this demon school, and shenanigans ensue as a result. He is basically told, oh hey, if they find out you're a human, they're probably going to eat you. So he has nervous things with that, tries not to stand out. Of course he does. Everything that he does ends up making him stand out more, and it just becomes a whole comedic thing. I enjoy it this far. It's a 2-course show somehow. It's also still in its setup phase as well, so it's got a lot to kind of do to make itself get better, because again, it's still introducing some of our main cast and things of that sort. And so it's got time to get really, really good or really, really bad. We'll see what goes with it. The last show on this list of 30th shows is We Never Learn Bookworm Season 2. This is basically a continuation of the spring season, which aired again in the spring, following a tutor who has to tutor 3 girls who struggle in various areas while they're geniuses in other areas, as well as being desired by 2 other girls, one who's a year above him academically and one who is his teacher. Of course. The second season doesn't really set up any sort of new standard. A lot of the first season basically dealt with him being put into various fun and comedic situations. I enjoyed it enough. I think it was on my top 10 of the spring season, so I enjoyed it. And so season 2 isn't really doing a whole lot different. It's doing a lot more of the same, which is fine because I enjoyed the first half. So let's see how the second season does. And that is my first impressions of all 30-ish shows that I am watching this season. So let me know what you're watching in the comments down below, and how you're liking some of these shows as well. Maybe something which I talked about was not on your radar, and now it is. So let me know that as well. If you have a Kitsu, I have my link in the comments down below, or in the description down below. So follow me there if you're curious what I'm watching and when I'm watching it, and my reactions to certain things in certain episodes, because I'm posting on it a little bit more than I used to. Thus far, again, 2 episodes in, so I can't really say for sure for a lot of these, but thus far, aside from maybe Oresuki, depending on how it goes, there's not a lot that seems to be potential top 10 material. So far, I've been able to take like 2 or 3 shows from each season to compile my top 10 list, because there's 2 or 3 shows from each season, which I really, really enjoyed, and which I thought deserved a placement in that top 10. I'm not terribly impressed with anything right out of the gate thus far this season, aside from Oresuki and maybe Outburst Dream Boys and 1 or 2 other things. But time will tell. We'll see where it's at in December. But yeah, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And once again, my people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on watching.